Hey, good morning. Welcome to the JeepSolid Garage. I'm Dale. I'm so glad you're here. So today we're going to make some good progress on this engine. We are going to install the head. We're going to do the head gasket. We're going to do the valve train, all kinds of good stuff. Let's get to it.
Rattlesnakes! Don't drop it. Stop!
So this is part of a rebuild series. I'm doing a complete rebuild on this, so be sure to subscribe so you can check out that playlist and follow this from step one to finish when we finally start this thing up. So right now I just got to clean the deck off here so we get a nice clean surface here, make sure there's no oil, and clean off the bottom of the head as well. Got my new head gasket here, and this build is sponsored by Engine Tech. They gave me this rebuild kit free of charge to do an installation and review video on. I'll be sure to link that in the description below, so check that out. I am going to hit the cylinder walls here again with just a little bit of oil, because yeah, we don't want any oil on the deck here, but we do want the cylinders to have oil on them, so just want to make sure I didn't clean that up too well. All right, let's open up our new head gasket here, and now this has a top and bottom. Should be labeled that way. Let's see here, this one, I do not see anything that says top or bottom. Some of them do say top and bottom, this one does not, but the good thing is you can only put it on one way. So clearly it does not match up that way. It can't go that way. Let's flip it over. There we go, everything matches up perfect. And with that, let's set our head on. Oh. Let's slide a few bolts in here, make sure we've got everything lined up just perfect. We're doing these at opposite corners, and yeah, everything threads in nice, so that feels good. I think we're good to go. Now that I know everything's lined up, I'm going to take these bolts back out, and I'm keeping them all in the proper sequence here. And it is possible, if your head bolts are in good shape, you can actually reuse them one time. The repair manuals, they reference this. You know, it's up to you. It's a good idea to get new bolts if you want, but if you want to reuse them one time, you can. If you see paint on the top of them, that means that they've been reused. So that's up to you guys, what you like to do. Now there's a torquing sequence we're going to take you through on this. We're going to start at the center and work out, but we'll get to that. But before we put all these bolts in, we're going to oil them all. We want to drop them in with a little bit of oil on the threads, all of them except for this one. This guy right here is a special bolt. This guy, we're going to call him bolt number 11 because he's the 11th one in my torquing sequence. He actually goes all the way through into the water jacket down here. So he's exposed to the coolant, so he gets a little special Loctite. This is Loctite 592, and it is a high temperature Loctite. I'll be sure to link this in the description below where you can find it. Order this ahead of time so you have it on hand, and it goes on bolt number 11 right here, which is this guy. So we're going to set him off to the side. All right, we are going to start at the... All right, we're going to start at 22 foot-pounds, and we're going to start with bolt number 1 here. We're going to work from the center out. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 13, 14. We're going to start out 22 foot-pounds. All right, let's step it up to 45 foot-pounds. Now the torquing sequence indicates that we need to repeat that same process at 45 foot-pounds just to make sure everything's correct. One thing I do is I count them out. Number 1, 2, 13, and 14. Now our next torquing sequence is going to be at 110 foot-pounds. They all get torqued to that, except for this fancy little guy here, number 11. We are going to torque him to 100 foot-pounds. All right, there we go. Now the next step is we actually need to let it set for just a few minutes. Then we're going to go back and retorque everything. All right, let's hit them one more time at 110 foot-pounds, except for our fancy bolt. Okay, head gasket is installed, so let's move on to our valve train. Okay, now we need to find top dead center for cylinder number 1. We can start installing our valve train then. On the vibration damper here, we have a little timing mark right there, and we are going to get him around to the 0 mark. There we go. But here's where we run into our dilemma. We don't know if that's compression stroke or if that's the exhaust stroke. So here's what we're going to do. Because we want top dead center during the compression stroke. We've got all of our push rods nicely in order there. We're going to take our first one, get a little bit of lube on it. Oops. Get a little assembly lube on our push rod and drop it down into place. We're going to make sure we kind of feel it sitting into that lifter there. You can kind of feel how it fits in there snugly. And take our second one, same thing, a little bit of lube. Gosh, I'm being sloppy with this. And drop it in the intake side. So we got our 2 push rods in there on cylinder number 1. Now with those push rods installed, now we can go ahead and spin our crank here, and we're going to watch our timing mark. I know that my wrench here is set just before my timing mark. That's how I'm going to keep track. And as I spin this, I'm watching these push rods. This is the intake, this is the exhaust. So this one's going up, so I know that this is my intake stroke. And as I come around here, right there at the mark, that should be top dead center. If I keep going around, I see this one lift up, which means my valve is being pushed down, which is opening the valve. So this is my exhaust stroke. And the timing mark here lines back up with top dead center, but that's top dead center on the exhaust stroke. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So we have our intake and exhaust, our intake push rod, exhaust push rod. So as those come up, it pushes the valve down, opening up the valve. So let me spin this around. We've got our exhaust valve opening. There's top dead center, so that's top dead center on the exhaust stroke. Coming around here, valve is opening. This is our intake stroke. And there we have top dead center on our compression stroke. All right, I'm gonna lube up and install the rest of my push rods here. So here we have all of our rocker arms, bridges, bolts. Where's our bolts? Yeah, there's bolts in there. So all of those are organized nicely. We're going to install those guys and just get them finger tight for right now. And as we're dropping these guys down in there, we're making sure that the push rods are nicely in their seats here. We're just getting these guys finger tight right now, making sure everything is even and lined up. And we're going to go through and torque these at 19 foot-pounds, and we're torquing them down evenly. Let's repeat that same process on all our other valves. All right, let's finally throw our valve cover back on here. Okay, we're going to get our valve cover bolts in here, and then we're going to torque these to 85 inch-pounds, starting at the center and working out. So this build is coming along really nice. I'll catch you guys in the next episode right up here. Thanks for watching. Getting good at that.